the New York Times released an article about Biden and the Democrats, and the gist of it is you lost the base. Base is gone. So let me show you here. They say, Democrats struggle to energize their base as frustrations mount. Even as President Biden achieves some significant victories, LOL at that framing, Democrats are warning that many of their most loyal supporters see inaction and broken campaign promises. You know why people see that? Because there's been inaction and broken campaign promises. You said $2,000 checks, we got $1,400 checks. And that was one of the better things, by the way. You said $15 minimum wage, we didn't get $15 minimum wage at the federal level. You said public option, we didn't get any reform on healthcare. So let me show you one of the key portions of this article here. Interviews with Democratic lawmakers, activists, and officials in Washington and in key battleground states show a party deeply concerned about retaining its own supporters. Even as strategists and vulnerable incumbents from battleground districts worry about swing voters, others argue that the erosion of crucial segments of the party's coalition could pose more of a threat in midterm elections that are widely believed to be stacked against it. Already, Mr. Biden's approval ratings have taken a sharp fall among some of his core constituencies, showing double-digit declines among Black, Latino, female, and young voters. Those drops have led to increased tension between the White House and progressives at a time of heightened political anxiety after Democrats were caught off guard by the intensity of the backlash against them in elections earlier this month. Mr. Biden's plummeting national approval ratings have also raised concerns about whether he would or should run for re-election in 2024. Not all the blame is being placed squarely on the shoulders of Mr. Biden. A large percentage of frustration is with the Democratic Party itself. Now, first thing I want to say is to bust up this myth that you have a choice. You can either serve the centrists, the moderates, the swing voters, or you can serve the base. That is the most obvious false dichotomy of all time. I mean, it is just a super clear false dichotomy because if the polling is correct, and it is, when you serve the base, you're actually serving the swing voters and the so-called moderates as well. Because people might call themselves moderates, but when you look at what they actually believe on the individual issues, whether it's healthcare or wages or foreign policy or climate change, they want action. And they want action that was actually laid out in that original $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. So by raising the minimum wage, by doing something like the PRO Act, by having climate change legislation, by doing a public option, by doing any of these traditional left-wing priorities, you're actually not only serving the Democratic base, you're going to win independence, and you're going to hold independence. Remember, Biden's approval rating was highest when he cut those checks, and he did the COVID relief package. Now, the traditional stupid Washington, D.C. conventional wisdom is like, with a big spending package like that, you might lose moderate voters. Well, no, then why was his approval rating at the time like 55%? It's because that conventional wisdom is dead wrong, and they don't know what they're talking about. And the saddest fact of all is that I have no doubt that behind the scenes, Biden, at the very least, is hearing a mixed message about what he should do. Some saying, complete the agenda, make it more bold. And others saying, no, put a pause on it because of big spending and inflation and the deficit and the debt, and this is bad for us. It's either he's getting a mixed, view on what he should do in order to fix his approval rating, or he's getting just the view of the debt, the deficit, inflation, don't do another big spending thing, this is going to hurt us even more. So, in other words, probably the minority view, if the view is even in the room at all, is like, do the right thing. Good policy is good politics. And that really is the gist of it. It's not any more complicated than that. Good policy is good politics. If you deliver for people materially, they'll deliver for you at the ballot box. And so what I see is a Democratic Party that's totally lost in the woods. And the reason why the Democratic base is abandoning Biden and the Democrats is because we have eyes. Like, anybody who is even paying 10% attention to the negotiation on the reconciliation bill realizes what went down. President Manchin and President Sinema were like, hey, all of the popular provisions that are really good for the people, strip them out because I am representing industry. I'm representing the coal companies, dirty energy. I'm representing big pharma. And so one by one, they would strip out all those popular provisions. Now, when you have a news cycle every day or every other day, this popular thing is gone, and this popular thing is gone, and this popular thing is gone. And the response from the White House is... The response from the left is even... Then what do you expect is going to happen? Because people say, well, who's fighting for me? Who's fighting for me? Biden's not fighting for me. The Democratic base isn't fighting for me because they refuse to draw any red lines. Their only red line appeared to be, don't delink the bills, don't delink reconciliation from traditional infrastructure bill, and then eventually they caved on even that. So what did you expect was going to happen? That's my question. What did you expect? When you're broadcasting to the world, the Democratic Party is only as good as its most conservative member, and its most conservative members are basically Republicans. What did you expect? What did you expect? When given a choice between Republican light or Republican, Americans are often going to pick just a Republican. So here we are. Now, the most damning takeaway from this entire conversation is not something that's laid out in the New York Times piece, but it's my interpretation of all the events as they're unfolding. I don't even think it's a difficult call right now. I think Donald Trump is the favorite to be the president of the United States in 2024. Now, yet again, if anybody in elite media heard this, they'd lose their mind and call me an idiot. But remember, I'm the one who said after Donald Trump won Nevada, I think it was, which was maybe the third contest or the fourth contest in 2016 in the primary, I said, he's almost certainly going to be the nominee. He's like an 80% chance to be the nominee. And at the time, the chatter in mainstream media was like, no, you'll have a resurgence of Marco Rubio, or Jeb Bush will hold on, or, whatever. They were looking for it. Well, it can't be Trump. It's going to be this person. It's going to be that person. It's going to be this person. And nothing ever materialized. Now, I was the one who told you early on, it's almost certainly going to be Trump after just 3 or 4 contests. So here I am again telling you that for the 2024 election, as we stand right now, Donald Trump is the favorite to be the next president of the United States. Biden used to be half dead. Now he's 3/4 dead. He's in zombie mode. He doesn't know what's going on. He's not fighting for an agenda. His approval rating is 38%. The second in line to him is Kamala. She's at 28%. Third in line is Mayor Pete. He's 37%. Democratic strategists are saying stuff like, well, we can have a good ticket if we put both Kamala and Mayor Pete on the same ticket. Do you have an IQ of a gnat? What is wrong with you? They're despised. Nobody likes them. Kamala had to drop out before Iowa in the last primary. So if that's the conversation going on in Democratic circles, if it's Biden, Kamala Harris, or Mayor Pete, and then on the Republican side, what do you have? Trump's got a lead by 1.5 miles, and then behind him you have like DeSantis, and then behind DeSantis you have like Pence. Like, if Trump runs, he'll Drax them sklounced of anybody else he's up against, and then it would be a general election where it's Donald Trump versus one of the 3 losers. Now, look, I submit to you, Joe Biden barely eked out a victory against Donald Trump at a time when we had a pandemic at its height and an economy in shambles. And if he could barely hold on in that reality, well, what the fuck do you think is going to happen now when Biden's been in office for 4 years and we're still back in the same place we were before? And he's not delivering on the promises. We're at a place where Donald Trump is likely to be the next president of the United States yet again. He's likely to take the White House back in 2024. And I see nobody grappling with that fact. Nobody. And it's astonishing because it's all so avoidable. It's all so avoidable. There's a million ways you can avoid it. You can have Joe Biden get a 5-point bump in his approval rating right this second. Right this second. You can have Joe Biden say, you know what, I'm gonna free all the nonviolent drug offenders, pardon and commute all their sentences, and I'm gonna change weed from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 5, therefore legalizing it throughout the country. It'll help business, whatever. It's good for freedom, yada, yada. I'm reversing a lot of the harms I did with the crime bill when I was tough on crime in the 1990s. That was dumb. Sorry for that. And then all of a sudden, boom, 5-point bump. And how do I know that? That issue polls at 68%. So the base is going to go, hooray! And then you're going to have independents are going to go, hooray! And even 50% of Republicans are going to go, hooray! That's just one thing I gave you. He could boost his approval rating 5 points. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. Eliminating student loan debt. You could do that like this. Cutting another stimulus check. There's a million things you could do. But they're not doing it. And they're not being advised to do it. And they're hopeless and they're useless. And this politics of milquetoast neoliberalism where thinking big is not allowed. And you know what? The scariest proposition is they might think they're thinking big with all this watered down bullshit anyway. To which I respond, FDR and LBJ are rolling over in their graves right now. Because this ain't big at all. You know, we had Bill Clinton in the 1990s, then we had another version of Bill Clinton with Barack Obama, now we have another version of Bill Clinton with Joe Biden. There are differences between them, of course, but they're a lot closer to Bill Clinton than they are to FDR or even LBJ. His approval rating is tanking. The base is gone. Who do you have left? You have nobody. And, you know, the political environment is such a mess right now. People are hurting so much that Republican base does not at all view Trump doing the stop the steal bullshit as a deal breaker. They don't view it like that at all. And there is an element on the right of this cult of personality around Trump. Now, don't get it twisted. Trump also has very high unfavorables. So it's not like he's a shoo-in to win, but he is the favorite. He is the favorite. If you were to do a poll right now with all the Republican and Democratic possibilities, Trump would come out on top. He would very likely crush in a Republican primary, then whoever he's up against, Biden would need to deliver on some tangible stuff and then also run in a way that's a lot more like Bernie and a lot less like we're going to go back to normal. Because you said back to normal and everybody knows where we are right now. It don't feel so hot now, does it? So, and I don't trust the Democrats to ever learn that lesson ever. So, I mean, look, your best hope is some Democrat coming out of nowhere, sort of like Obama did in '08, where the person is very charismatic and gains high name recognition very quickly. Somebody like Warnock or Ossoff or I think Sherrod Brown's not charismatic enough, but somebody who's new and fresh and more exciting. But I think that's unlikely at this point because our media system is so broken and the Democratic Party is so broken that they're going to do everything they can. They're already doing everything they can to force feed us Kamala or Pete. They're already doing everything they can on that front. Listen, I will say this. We'll end on a bright note. The bright note is if you have Kamala and Pete or Kamala or Pete running against Trump, tremendous content. That will be quite an election to cover if I don't say so myself. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.